and how to help move that forward. We also, these are all the resources that are included in those slides in case you wanted to drive back and take a look at some of those. There were some articles and protocols that we utilized. We also did a quotation activity. We looked at that classroom walkthrough video activity. So there was a video that you looked at and had our look for document that was created by math educators across the greater area. And then you basically went through and did a classroom look for when you watched the video. So that's what's included in your October slides if you want to take a look at those later. Just as a reminder, in December, we talked about that intentional alignment, and we utilized those resources for high quality instructional materials. Again, the session was differentiated based on where you guys were as a district and your next steps. We utilized resources from the Ohio Curriculum Support Guide. We looked at Learning Forward's tool. We provided you with the Curriculum Support Guide stock take. And then there was two articles that we linked in there. Why teachers aren't using the high quality instructional material that they are given, and leaders play an important role in implementing new curriculum. So that information is linked under those December good slides. And then in February, we talked about the importance of relationships, clarity, and challenge. And we looked at that from various levels within the system. So we talked about it from the district perspective, building principal, and then the teacher level. We utilized some of the resources from the opportunity myth. We talked a little bit at those resources were provided for you to take back and use in your district for engagement conversations for your central office folks, your building principals, and then your teachers. And then we also provided you with some articles, keeping educators fully engaged. And this time of year, principals have two jobs. Here's how to ace them both, and the importance of engagement. And then a quick video there. They were all linked within our February 6 slides at the top of the page, all of that information. And then today, we are on the reflection and action. And what I'd like to do before we dive into our reflection piece, I'd like you to just listen for just a second. How often do you get a chance to do that? Just listen. I'm going to read a little bit of a passage to you. I want you to try to visualize what's happening. And then we'll talk about how this maybe pertains to the work that you're doing in this year. All right. You're standing on the shoreline, watching a rowboat, trying to navigate challenging and shifting waters. The boat seems to be struggling. Some rowers are faster than others. One appears to be rowing backward. Yet another is burned out and has withdrawn their oar from the water. The captain is shouting directions, which some seem to hear while others strain to make out the words. At last, a few hear the directions, exchange glances, and continue to row counter to the captain's orders. The ship begins taking on water, slowly sinking. How could a boat like this ever successfully reach its destination? How would the experience feel for the rowers, for the passengers? I want you to think about your role in a district as you're working and trying to move things forward instructionally. I thought that this analogy, which was from an article in the latest Education Leadership magazine, from sinking to sinking, being in sync. And so I thought that this was really timely as we think about the work that we're going to be doing today, trying to move that instructional focus forward, making sure that as the coxswain, the person in the front of the boat who's giving the directions to the district, everyone's clear and you're all sinking and rowing together. And so I just wanted to share that with you this morning. So we're going to get a little chance later on to really take time to reflect upon the work that we're doing in a district. This image is taken from the movie The Boys in the Boat. And this quotation is from the article in Education Leadership. If you could get all the people in any organization rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry in any market against any competition at any time. So how does a school leader pilot their rowboat to the shore and align their team? No work could be more impactful for creating an instructional culture that is coherent and effective. As you look at that image, So Thompson up front, you see everyone is focused, eyes are looking specifically where they need to be, muscles are in place, they're ready to move forward. No, and that is always, when we are planning these meetings, what we're trying to do is provide you with information so that as a captain of the boat, you can help me consider it. And you can make sure that everything is in alignment and people are all moving in the right direction. So just as you think through the work that you're doing in your district, today we're going to take stock of your progress. We're going to really think about where you are. Many of you are either wrapping up, you're either cohort 1, cohort 2, or cohort 3, I think, under one plan. And many of you maybe just getting that finally approved right now. Some of you are, are right in the middle of all of it. We're going to talk today about the importance of that instructional vision. Okay, you have a plan, but we're going to talk about the importance of having an instructional vision. And does everyone from central office to the building to the classroom teacher, do they all know, and is everyone aware, what does it look like in our district to have quality instruction? So this overarching question, what can be done when everyone rows together to align our instructional vision and practices across the district? That's kind of where we're going to be going, where we're heading. Go ahead and read this quotation. This is kind of the why. Why is it important to have that instructional focus? So as you think about the best of the best back in your district, those outstanding teachers, what we want to try to do is make sure those folks are continuously on the bus. They're walking right alongside of us. They know exactly where we're going. They understand the vision. They can share that with their colleagues. If they're a connector, they're able to bring in their peers. They're able to clarify things because you can't do everything back in your district. But we need to make sure that those talented educators, we don't want them frustrated. We want them to be our greatest cheerleaders and motivators to help move things forward in the district. So this is our why it's really imperative. In your folder, on the left-hand side, you have 2 documents. I'd like you to grab the first one that's reflection and action, please. Start with that one. And would you flip it over to the first question, which is, what is your district's instructional vision? Start there. So this is really just an opportunity for you to kind of reflect upon where you are in your district as far as your instructional vision. Now, you may already have a very clear instructional vision in your district. Then this is not necessarily for you to change anything up. It might just be to help clarify maybe some areas in which you want to pay a bit of attention. So I'm just going to, I'll walk through questions first, and then we're going to give you some time to reflect upon those. And then after you're finished reflecting, please don't feel that you have to share with people at your table, but if you'd like to have a conversation with folks at your table, please feel free to do so. So we're going to just walk through the questions first. So what is your district's instructional vision? What does high quality instruction mean in your district, and how would you describe it? Would other leaders in your district agree with your definition? Has your leadership team established a clear definition of high quality instruction? And then have you communicated that definition of high quality instruction with teachers, leaders, and other stakeholders in your district? And if so, how did you share that? On the back side, next year, what would you expect to see in classrooms throughout the district if you focused on high quality instruction? If it was perfect, what would it look like? And then how do you ensure teachers have a clear understanding of what high quality instruction looks like, sounds like, and feels like? And then what types of instructional support do you provide teachers to improve their practices to move toward high quality instruction in every classroom in your district? And then as you consider alignment in your district's instructional vision, what are your next steps? I'm going to give you just a few minutes. We're probably around 5 to 7 minutes. I'll just kind of watch and see how we're doing. Feel free to, if there are questions that you're good, like you already have a district instructional vision. You have it, just don't worry about it. We want the ones that are relevant to the meaning for your conversation back in your district. So we'll give you some time to do that. After you finish, if you'd like to have a conversation close to your table, please feel free to do that. Turn on maybe a little bit of private music. Again, we wanted to provide you with some time to really reflect upon your district's instructional vision and perhaps some next steps that might help you as a leadership team, and just really things for you to reflect on personally. So this is where you are right now. Okay. Now we're going to talk about where you're going. All right, your district planning to move the work forward. So in your folder, you have another sheet that looks very similar. It's a five-step blueprint for syncing your district's instructional vision. And we're going to start with the side that has tools listed there. On your slide, those tools, they'll drive you right to those actual tools. So we were inspired by and have taken some of the information from the article that I referenced from Thinking to Syncing. We adapted this to really try to make it helpful and meaningful for you backing your districts. On the left-hand side, you'll notice the steps in the process. As we were thinking about this, we're like, okay, we know that many of you are getting ready to wrap up your year and you're going to have a retreat, or you're going to wrap up your year in May and have a planning retreat for the following year, or maybe you've already started that process. But we're hoping that some of these resources might be helpful for you as you move that work forward and think about your district's instructional vision. So as you notice on the left-hand side, defining a vision for high-quality instruction. And then what that is, establishing that common understanding of why the district vision is important and what high-quality instruction looks like. The tool that's listed there is not the only tool to use, okay? It is a resource for you. So if the overarching question is, what does high-quality instruction look like in Alliance? That tool, the affinity mapping tool, may help you. You generate the question, people jot down their ideas on Post-it notes, they place them on the wall, you gather the like items together, and you're able to synthesize information. So that is just a protocol and a tool you might want to use for that. For step 2, determine those characteristics of high quality instruction. What that is, it's prioritizing and determining the characteristics of high quality instruction on which to focus to drive the instructional vision. And so we're going to talk about this from the lens of math. So I'm going to let Chris talk a little bit about this tool that's listed there in step 2.
So, Matt, are you able to click on that link?
Anything you need, yeah.
Thank you.
Which one do you
The
need?
CHIEL, or I'm not sure if that's how they say it or not,
Yep.
but it stands for Characteristics of Highly Effective Teaching and Learning. And this is from the Kentucky Department of Education. And as you scroll through there, what you'll see is they have 5 domains or sections that they have kind of broken apart. So section 1 is a learning climate, 2 is assessment and reflection, and you can look at the rest there. But what they did is they defined what it would look like from the teacher perspective, like what characteristics would you see from a teacher if you were in their classroom, and what would you see from students? So you get to see both. And they did it very generally. Now, Matt, if you can scroll down a little bit further, underneath, right, content area, CHIEL documents, they have it broken down for each kind of content area, what it might look like for students and what it might look like from the educator standpoint. So if you're looking to define some of what your highly effective instruction and teaching and learning looks like, this may be a helpful site for you as you try to break some of those things down. Again, it's just an example. We're not saying it's an exemplar, although I do feel they did a pretty nice job of putting some things together. And then when Levon and I talk, we're going to dig into the math part a little bit more. But for right now, we wanted to kind of just keep it general for you and to have a tool to kind of look at instruction as a big picture item, especially since you have plans for a big district and not just math.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. And then step 3, setting that vision for intentional instruction. That's where you're solidifying the instructional practices, the district focus, and articulating how to get there. In a perfect world, it would look like this. And so that's a great protocol, that Back to the Future protocol. It asks you to really think about where you are, where you want to go, and you're really planning through that process. And it is in a perfect world, it will look like this when you get there. So feel free to check that one out. Again, these are not exemplars. These are simply examples. You may have other things in your district that are far more helpful, but we wanted to provide you with at least a tool to be able to utilize back in district. And then step 4, planning and monitoring the implementation. So this is where you're providing all stakeholders with a look for document aligned to your instructional focus and vision, clarifying those effective instructional practices, and developing like a walkthrough schedule or a look for schedule or whatever your terminology you're using back in your district. That is our look for document that we used at the,
It's the one that the teachers, the ACEs developed.
right, and we used that in October when we did the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that document. And then step 5, crafting an action plan with next steps. And this is where you're really synthesizing your work into the previous steps and creating that cohesive instructional plan. And you'll be developing an action plan and next steps. You may want to utilize what you already have in your one plans or an action plan template. Perhaps you have a district communication or DLT plan where your plans are located. This might fit in there nicely and you'll be able to just add those pieces on. So again, on the other side of the document, this is just if you want to use something like this with your leadership team, the templates on the back side. But again, those items are linked in the presentation. So as you're looking ahead for the future and really working on your instructional plan, we wanted to, again, our goal is always to try to provide you with information that helps you in your role and is beneficial for you as you plan for the future. Really awesome. Okay. Glad it's helpful. That's what we're doing here. Sure.
But I know the math for one. That I know of.
We do have
ELA, of course.
We should
Get that up. Any other supporters that you might have some answers, like anything you can.
Yeah, yes. Let's do that. Yep. Yeah, no problem. Happy to do it. And then as we think through that sinking, so that we're not sinking, just remember, you're not the only person on your boat that's driving this work. You have building principals, you have other leaders in your district. The things that we're sharing in our network here, we share those same types of things with the building principals. And we provide them with resources to support them back in the district. These are the meetings that we have planned for next year. So later on today, you're going to get an opportunity to really think about who are your go-to people, your instructional leaders back in your district, the principals that are the ones helping to drive this instruction forward. We're going to ask you to identify, think about who those folks are. And as the math, we know that the math plan is going to be coming out. And as that information starts to flow, you're going to be getting that information as soon as we get it. But we also want to make sure that your building principals are aware of that information too. And looking ahead to next year, that's what we're doing during those network meetings. So as you're planning for next year, we're asking you to consider to send your principals to these sessions so that you are not the only person rowing that boat from the district lens. You have other rowers and they're all moving forward, okay? So those are the dates for that network for next year. Okay. And then just a recap of, again, where we've been. You see the little oars there. We talked about walkthroughs this year. We spent time in these things talking about high quality instructional materials, engagement. We've talked many times about PLC and how to use those opportunities to help move professional learning forward. And then today we spent time on the reflection and action. So we just wanted to just kind of recap where we were. And hopefully this has been helpful for you as you look ahead to the remainder of your year and look ahead to next year. I'm going to turn it over to my math friends now. Come on, guys. That's right. We don't have to stop. That's not right. Leadership number. 8 to 10. In person or is the option for Google? So we have it here because what we try to do. Yeah, that's a great question. So what we try to do during that time is we provide professional learning, but we also give them a space to talk about real life stuff that happens in their building. what we have found is the conversations are far more useful from most folks are in the room. We know it's difficult for people to get out, but in the same token, there are things that they can share in that network. We do not want to have a Google Meet going, principal leaves their office and somebody sharing a personal story they have in the district. We don't want that. So we really want to have this be a place where they can come, share their learning. Okay, I had this thing in my district, and then they're free to ask them, how did you guys handle that? What were the steps you took in the district? And we've had some really great folks here this year and had very good feedback from those people. But again, as we mentioned, the things that we share here, we're really trying to being really intentional, trying to line everything up so that you're not the only person hearing this information. And so when they hear it again in the meeting review, they say, oh yeah, I remember hearing a little bit about that. We're not going to steal your thunder and share everything that we're sharing out, but we want to provide them some professional learning too. And so we know that there is no perfect way to do this, whether it's Google Meet or not Google Meet, but this year we decided that it's more beneficial. And the people that have been in the room have said it's far easier for me to pay attention. And to be able to
In our elementary school, they only one, there's no assistant. We put them on rotation.
yeah, you sure can. You sure can. We always just tell them, make sure you share this back with your colleagues back here. Just
You have something this and that.
Yep.
They, rather than having all of them in this follow phase.
Yep. That okay, totally makes sense. And I'm gonna ask, we'll add 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock on that slide, just so you know the time frame. Yeah, good question.
And in person.
In person. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's good. I live this world, so I don't think about it. Yes, I'll add that too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
One line.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'll wait to the practice.
Okay, very good. All right. Anybody else? Thank you.
All right, so the math, we're going to kind of just add on to the conversation that Janelle started this morning with talking about our instructional vision and aligning with instruction. So as we're thinking about that instructional leadership alignment and the math plan that is supposed to be out this spring.
Okay, this is where I think I get that. Just this week,
Yes.
in the budget bill, they had proposed out of the House that there be math diagnostics, but they dropped all the other all the other like math initiatives. And I asked specifically about the math diagnostics, and obviously it just came out of the House to see what the Senate says. But and I also said that patients, it sounds nice and easy, but then it's finances, it's professional development, it's time. There's a lot wrapped into just getting a diagnostic, not just getting a test. So it's pulled back drastically from the House, but we'll see what the Senate does with it. So there's a lot, they won that from the Jew. For her personally, she was saying they want to pause on math because they want to do reading well. And then, quite honestly, we can expect it all from that. It's gonna all come. It's just a matter of wait 2 more years.
Well, I think the plan is going to come out. What's the literacy one, the highways plan? Yeah. So there's going to be a plan for raising math achievement. But I think the diagnostics and that part and the approved curriculum and the risks or MIPS, because there won't be risks at that time. I think that's all coming, but the plan is put together and it's on its way. They're starting to share it with different groups right now. What we have seen so far, we're okay with because we started just working 3 years ago. And so it shouldn't be a major surprise to the teachers who attend our networks. We're going to leave that there right now, but we wanted to remind you that you have teams in your districts already, because you guys, most of you sent people for ACE, and you have your district capacity team. So you have a team already that is entrenched in this work and has seen it and has heard it and are currently working on it. So you're not alone there. You do have a team. And part of Matt, could you go back to the Cheadle website and pull up the math thing for a moment? The other part that was, handout that was on that side with the instruction part was this one. It has the math on it. This is what we've been talking about, and we scroll down and look at the math one. There are 8 effective teaching practices, and there are 8 standards for mathematical practice. And Lavon and I have talked about them for 3 years now. This is not news to many of you. It's not news to your teachers who've been coming to our networks. But what Kentucky did is they crosswalked the 8 effective teaching practices, the 8 standards for mathematical practice, which the teaching practices are for educators, the math practices are for students, and they mapped them onto the characteristics in their plan. So just under learning climate, that is, all of that language is the same that's on their main page, but then they made it specific to math. So like teacher creates learning environments where students are active participants as individuals and members of collaborative groups. The teacher 1 engages students in, and then this is where it becomes mathematical, solving and discussing tasks that promote mathematical reasoning, problem solving, allowing multiple entry points, and varied solution strategies. That is math teaching practice number 2. Implement tasks that promote reasoning, problem solving. So they crosswalked it. And then if you scroll down a little bit further where it says student characteristics. Yeah, there's a lot of teacher characteristics. Yeah. There we go. Student accepts responsibility for his or her own learning, his or her own learning student. And then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are the math practices down here. So I did not look closely at the other content areas. I only focused on the math one. And when Lavon and I talked about it, we're like, this is already crosswalked for you. So as you're trying to put together a document for your district and what it looks like in your district, some of this may be helpful for you because you already did some of this. So these will be in the math plan, both from the educator standpoint and the learner standpoint. It's part of effective teaching practices, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like. So with that being said, you have ACEs, you have district capacity teams, and now,
So we're kind of throwing the term around of maybe an ACE principle. So thinking about those instructional meetings that they have here with Janelle and Tom and Dan, we know that the math plan should be here. We're hoping that by next year, we are really providing professional learning, still on content and all of the instructional practice things, but we're actually going to be focused too on each part of the math plan. So looking at that work, we thought it might be helpful because the math plan will be part of the principal meetings too. You could kind of start to think about your principals at an elementary level and then at your middle school, high school level that maybe love math, maybe we're former math teachers, and there's a lot of principals that are former math teachers, or maybe it's somebody that you feel needs to get more content learning in math. It's gonna be a broad topics.
yeah, the idea behind it is most of you in this room, including Lavon and myself, we all learned math a certain way. We went to college. They still taught us to teach math that same certain way. And that's not really how books and curriculums are set up anymore. And so I'm going to acknowledge that some of you are probably feeling some pain in some of your buildings because instruction has changed and teachers aren't comfortable with the change. Or they're stuck in their mindset of, well, this is how I've always done it. It has worked for me. I don't know why I need to change now. And I don't know that they're resistant because they just want to be resistant. I think it's more like they're not sure what else to do and they don't know how to do it and they've not seen it and they don't know what it looks like, feels like, sounds like to be able to plan like that. So we wanted to make sure that you knew you had your team. You can add some principles with it if you want. So as you start to have these conversations, maybe that's your team that has the conversations and kind of move the work forward. But math instruction looks different. And if the principals have not seen the difference in it, they're not sure what to look for, what it looks like. If they're just expecting teachers to stand up there and teach, go over the homework, give the answers, give the lesson, then assign the homework, then it's not that anymore. And so we just want to try to be helpful in providing some direction for principals to look.
I think we're really trying to be intentional with the ACE and then the district capacity team folks for math. as I think about that boat where everybody's moving in the same direction, you do have a lot of people on that boat. And so if we can just get a principal on the boat as well, a couple principals, elementary and secondary, to help you kind of move that work forward. And so that we have multiple people in the district that are informed about the information, we think it would be beneficial.
And you can't do all of this on your own.
No.
So if you have a team, and smaller districts, it's very difficult because many of you wear multiple hats at multiple times. And I get that. In larger districts, maybe you have some who would focus more on English language arts, some who would focus on science or social studies. But if you have the ability to kind of pull out some of the principles that you think might be helpful in moving the map forward. Remember 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago when the literacy push started and how it was kind of like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So we were trying to get in front of the map so that you have a team.
So at 9 o'clock, I think maybe actually 9:01, dropping into your email is just going to be a reminder. You already have this document. We gave you a hard copy and we sent it electronically of your map district capacity team, built from beginning 3 years ago with elementary ACE all the way through this year's current middle school, high school district capacity team. So we have your ACEs identified and then all of the team members. What we would like, we added 2 slots at the top for an elementary and secondary principal name. We just like you to fill those in as you think about it. Maybe go back to district, talk to these people. Might be willing to get a little bit more math content. If there have been any changes to people, because I've tried to keep up as people have left districts or changed positions. I tried to update. Even if they're teaching something else, I kind of left them on here just because they did have this math learning so that you know you can go back and draw from them. But if there are any changes, just move it on that electronic copy that you're going to get here in a few minutes, and we'll make sure that that's all updated. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about these principles.
Now, if you want a hard copy again, we have one for each district.
To you, right?
But yeah.
So the last thing that we have is a math survey, which is linked there. We don't expect you to do that right now. We're going to give you time later to take a peek at that. You are the first audience that's going to be getting this math survey. Next week, we will be sending it out to principals, and we will also be sending it out to all of the people on our listserv and our math networks, K to 12. We are looking for their needs. How much learning have they had in the last 3 years from us? How involved have they been? Have they been in ACE? Have they been on district capacity team? Do they come to math network meetings? Do they just maybe read our math chatter that comes out every other month? You know, we just want to know what's been their involvement in math so that we kind of get a base of knowledge. And what do they need? Content, instructional practices. You know, we want to hear from the people, and you're getting it first. So we'd like you to fill that out, and we'll take that feedback, and it's really going to help us with the plan next year with the plan. All right, Brian, clicker.
One slide, and we didn't math with anybody today.
All right, guys, at the ILC meeting, I shared with you guys, as I was looking through the budget bill, that there was something in there about the possibility of moving the college career workforce military readiness component to the following year. And that, I told you that was just a placeholder because they're waiting on stuff to come back from JCAR approving all of the rules and things like that. That has come back. So they have approved all the rules for that component. That will actually be included in this year's report card as a graded component, and it'll be included in the overall. With that, a technical document is up to date, we've been told. And you can click on that link, it takes you to the technical document. We have also lined up Jessica Lark from ODE. She is going to join us on May 1st after our ILC meeting. So we have that planned 11:15 to 12:15. She'll be walking us through what that new component is and sharing with us about that. So you might want to mark your calendars. We'll send out an invite as well. Feel free to invite others from your district if that might be their line of work as well, dealing with the report card. I will share that also with our testing coordinators in case they're interested in joining.
And that'll be virtual too.
Yeah, there'll be a virtual option for that as well. For that purpose. Second thing, middle of May, end of May, right before spring break, there was an email sent out about changes to KRA. This upcoming year, there'll be 2 forms. There'll be the KRA R2, and that has about 27 questions on it. There will be the KRA 2.0, and there's 50 questions on that one. It provides more domain reporting, things like that. With that, if you would, as a default, all the districts will be given copies of blank forms of the KRA R2 automatically. If your district would like to give the KRA 2.0, there is a sign-up form for that. So you have to request those forms to give that. And you can see the linked order form there. You want to do that by April 15th, right? If you would like that. Also today, there's a administrator webinar to kind of explain the 2 forms. There is no registration for it. You can just click that link and it takes you to a Microsoft Teams and you can jump on there. And they're going to explain the 2 forms is my understanding today. I'll be on that call just to see and learn as much as we can about that. And then I sent that out to the testing coordinators as well so that they have that information.
Automatically R2.
Yeah, you automatically get R2.
We know.
Yeah, so if you don't, I think if you select 2.0, then they won't give you the R2. They'll just give you the 2. So, and then my next slide there is just the test dates. I shared that at the ILC, but just to make it easy to find if you're trying to figure out when the different test reporting will come back and where to find that, that is at the bottom of those forms. But that is all I have for today.
Oh, it's doing, I heard school fine. Yeah. So we're really excited to be able to offer a network next year. This is going to be coming up for instructional coaches and leaders that are helping within your building to move that learning forward, working with teachers. We know that not all of your districts have instructional coaches, and if you do have instructional coaches, your actual structure may be different from district to district. What are their roles and responsibilities? So what we want to do with this network, Levon and I are going to be running this network 3 times next year. We really want to bring those leaders together to build their capacity of how you work with adult teacher learners and move your district initiatives forward.
So those meetings are going to be held during the day because there's only 3 of them. We're going to do a 9 to 11:30 time. So we would ask that they be released 3 small half days next year. But again, if you don't have coaches, that's why we have the word lead up there. Because think about your instructional leaders. Who is moving the work forward in the building? So Amanda put those post-it notes on top there. So these are your strong instructional leaders, open to feedback, Your learners or reflectors, team players, those that connect with staff and are able to, those people that I call them from back in the day, my principal called them your starters. Think about who your starters are in your building. Be careful not to wear them out, but identify who they are and but we are going to like them, right?
Yeah. So what we would like for you to do is you'll have a chance later today to fill this out. So you don't have to go and fill it out right now. But we are asking that you identify, especially your instructional coaches, but then anyone else that you think would be your team of leaders that really help fuel that learning within your buildings. And so there is a ability to sign up those people.
Once you have that filled out, I think we said by May 2nd, Amanda and I will be personally inviting each of them to the network, which is going to start in August. We want to get the year started, kick it off right. So we're going to do a real early beginning of the school year meeting.
Because we also know that many of those instructional leaders are also the ones that are really busy at the beginning of the year, helping get things started. So we want to meet with them on August 12th. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
You have another opportunity. On the right-hand side of your folder, you're going to see the flyer for the instructional coaches. And beneath that flyer, you're going to see a flyer for one of our new opportunities, combining literacy and content for impact. And we're going to start ComLitCon. We're going to kick it off with social studies for next school year. So we're going to begin talking about and teaching more about combining literacy with that content area. And we have done some of that in our network meeting this year. In November, we focused on vocabulary instruction with social studies teachers. And then I think in January, we did background knowledge and tech sets with social studies teachers. We're going to have all day professional learning with the social studies teachers. It's not going to be anyone signing up. We're going to ask you again to sign up people. The form that we have provided for you has 8 slots. If you want more, please. We'll love to have more from your district with social studies educators coming. And I'm going to turn it over to Nita.
So in addition to the after-school meetings that they can go and talk about social studies, these are really like a one-day event for your 7th and 12th grade teachers, which will be held in October. And then for your K-6 teachers, that's going to be held in February. So that's going to be that ComLitCon day where they can come with a team of their teachers within your district to really learn how the reading strategies, the literacy and writing strategies partner with the content that they're teaching so they can maximize what they're trying to teach within the classroom.
What I've heard from social studies educators is we're doing the science of reading stuff. It's not making sense to us because we can't connect it to our content.
Absolutely.
We've done some of that in our network meeting, and now we're going to spend a whole day doing it with the people you choose that are going to bring it back to your district again and help others with the information. So we have those 2 dates, October 22nd for 7 to 12, February 25th for K to 6. There's a bit.ly there, and we're asking for you to submit those names by May 2nd so that we can plan accordingly.
And we know that substitutes are an issue. So try and think about who are the people that are going to really be able to share this with the other social studies members within your district.
Would you be sharing what they're doing with the social studies people with the coaches so that they can support the social studies people? And
We can absolutely do this.
yeah.
And again,
That'd be nice so that they can follow up and do that, you know.
we're doing these 2 all-day meetings for the people you select, but we're still going to have the after-school network meetings. Three nights of that, not 4, since we're doing this. We're doing 3 after-school meetings with the Social Studies Network, and then these 2 all-day sessions.
How many people did you get to know on the phone?
We left you 85, but if you want more, we'll give you more. It's going to be in this room, so this is our capacity.
But we can pack them in. Yeah.
Any other questions? We're excited about this.
We are.
And we're beginning with social studies for next school year, and we hope to do more with other content areas in the future.
And I want to give a shout out to Anna because Anna was kind of the person who kind of nudged and said, you know, have we thought about doing something for our content area folks? So we're going to start with social studies this year. The following year, once our new person gets their feet underneath them at the SAM Center, then we'll add science the following year. So just wanted you to know kind of what's coming.
And again, both of these signups are due May 2nd, but you will have some time today to kind of listen to your teachers. All right, so I have 5 things to go over with you today. And I know it looks like a lot, but these are just some updates from the Rio Ohio Policy Hour and from their office hours last week that I just want to go over. But the first thing I want to draw your attention to is in your folder, there is Ohio's plan to raise literacy achievement. You have a printed copy in there for you. And I was told directly last Thursday that the video overview will be coming out in 2 weeks. Fingers crossed. So if you do not want to read all 80 pages, that video overview will be coming out. And then the other thing that we're going to talk about is letters. So one more sign up for you. In your folder, there's also the letters flyer. We are finishing up 1 cohort this year, and then actually next Thursday, And then we have the second year of the other cohort that we started this year. But this sign up is really for you to fill out for any teachers you think may need letters. Now, you might be thinking, why on earth would they need letters? We've just gone through the science of reading training. We've got everybody covered. But one thing I want to draw your attention to is that the science of reading training is a 1-year training for the state. It's a 1-year requirement because that is part of the annual budget bill. The dyslexia training that is required by the state is going to be ongoing. It started before the science of reading. It's going to continue on because it's part of Ohio Revised Code. So for any new teacher that you have in K-3 or any of your intervention specialists, K-12, they will have 2 years to complete that dyslexia training. If you so choose, letters training does qualify and cover that. So that's what you've kind of been working on. We just kind of wanted to offer that opportunity for you. Again, May 2nd, I'm just going to go back there. May 2nd is the date to sign up your teachers for letters training for next year. And you will see when you open that up, there's a tab for your district at the bottom. You can fill in names there. But we will be having dates here at the ESC. And the dates are on that main page of that spreadsheet to sign up. You can sign up teachers for the entire volume or just by unit, because we also know that I had a lot of teachers this year that missed a day within their district, because we know you have a lot of people within your district that have been trained in letters. You can continue to do that in-house. But if they missed a day with your training in your district, I had several people coming each session to make it up here at the ESC.
Yeah, can I just clarify, the other letters training, go back.
Yes.
So June 30th, we're finished with science and reading. Moving forward next school year. All the K years, I repeat these, all new K3, yes, there's an IS. K-12,
K-12, K-12 IS, K-3 gen ed teachers
must have dyslexia training
within 2 years.
within 2 years. And it's the same modules that we all did
Yes.
before science and reading.
Yes.
Then there are the other options that are the things that we counted before.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So if you did keys for literacy, for example, that would still count for an alternate assessment for ID, an alternate training for ID.
No stipend, nothing like that.
Just stipend it will,
Congratulations.
yeah. Yeah, the stipend ends June 30th. They were very adamant about that. It will no longer be in effect. So some of the things, if you want to see the difference between the dyslexia legislation and the science of reading legislation, that square right there is a link. It will take you to the side-by-side document.
They did come out of college though, did they not?
They can come out with what?
With a certificate from college.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, I just want to be sure that they say that part again. They could, if the university made them go through these modules, they could come out with a
Yes,
certificate.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then you would hire them and have that certificate.
Do we believe colleges are doing?
I think some really are. Really? Yes.
Well, and they would have to print that, they would have to print that they,
Yeah.
which,
But it's at least
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as they have taken it, then they're good. As long as they have taken it, then they're good. So yes, they could take it in undergrad. So, a couple of other things that I want to bring your attention to with the science of reading law. We know that the due date is June 30th. The state is a little concerned that some teachers may be holding off until closer to that due date to start the actual training. And they're concerned because it takes more than, a couple of hours to finish it. They're also concerned because there are many teachers that are flying through it and not getting the 80% passage rate needed.
Not necessarily here, but throughout the state.
Yes, throughout the state. Absolutely not in Stark County. So one of the things that I just wanted to kind of remind you of, because I know in your role, you're collecting a lot of certificates, you're making sure that teachers are, certified and follow the trainings that they need to complete. But if a teacher has not gotten an 80% passage rate on the post-assessment, it is the responsibility of the teacher to reach out to ONU and Read Ohio. Read Ohio will then go through and look to see, well, how long did this take? What were some of the checkpoints along the way? And they may actually make them go back and redo some of the modules. Yeah. So,
And then you start math. That's my favorite.
Yes.
That wouldn't happen if they submitted their certificate.
Right. No, if they got their certificate, they were 80% passed. They're good. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Check mark.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Certificate for that.
Yeah. So it might be worth looking at, okay, who hasn't submitted the certificates yet? Just a follow-up email, like, how's it going? If they're like, I completed it, please submit your certificate to me so that you can prove
So
that you have it.
are they maybe concerned that people are waiting so long that there could be overload on the system?
They did not mention that. According to Odoo, their system is golden and there's no reason for it to break down.
I'm sure they're accurate.
Yeah, it's more about that they take some of them take 27 hours to go through and they're afraid that they're gonna start them today. Yeah, hopefully not, hopefully not. But then the question that has popped up. You can tell us that. Yeah. Is there a penalty for an educator or a district if the educator does not complete the science of reading and professional development? So that question has come up a lot. Oh, sorry, it went forward.
You're correct, yeah.
Okay. And so according to Jeremy Luke on March 28th, there is technically not a penalty from the state. However, they would like for districts to think about this as non-compliance and to go through whatever protocol you have within your district for any teacher that would be showing insubordination or non-compliance. That is their recommendation.
I mean, I met with my union leader and told him, listen, I have this many teachers. I'm telling you now, it's not gonna secret. They have to get this stuff. Yeah, so, and he's like, you're right. And thankfully he had his stuff.
Well, that's good.
So I'm just saying, like, they have to do it. Yeah, it's not a choice.
And it may think that, you know, I could just do it over the summer, past June 30th. Well, they're not getting a stipend and it won't count. So yeah,
My deadline's May 1st.
yeah, and you're not alone in that. There's a lot of people in here made their deadlines even sooner than that. So yes. So technically, there's no penalty from the state, but they would like for you to do that penalty within your district. To follow whatever protocol you have for non-compliance. Okay. So, yeah. So I also wanted to kind of update you just about, I am not the EMIS person, so I'm putting that out there, but I wanted to update you because the EMIS codes have come up in a lot of our Read Ohio meetings, and the one big thing that they talk about is that with grants now extending to 6th grade next year, the advanced word study EMIS code has been put in place. Okay, they also are open for public comment right now. So I put the due dates up there so that you can have your EMIS coordinators go through and provide any comments based on the protocols and the things that you've been doing within your district. If you have any questions, you can also email EMIS there or email me and I will pass it along to the EMIS people here. So. And then I know this slide looks really busy and I apologize about that in advance, but one thing I wanted to draw your attention to are some common questions. They keep coming up over and over and over again when it comes to RIMS in the 3rd grade reading guarantee. So I tried to put those questions up there just to clarify. So the first is that new RIM templates will be coming out for grades 4, 5, and 6. They will be available in the next couple of weeks or so, I am told by Ellen Sutton. And they will be added to the 3rd grade reading guarantee guidance and website as well. Parent exemption. So there's been some confusion throughout the state, not necessarily here, but throughout the state about what is promotion and what is proficiency. So I'm just going to reiterate it right now. So parent exemptions will continue to, for grade level promotion will continue. However, if a student does not receive a 700 proficient score, the student will still need a RIM. Yep, 700. You will hear this over and over again. The passing score on one of the alternate assessments, such as the Terra Nova, iReady, or MAP, cannot override that 700 proficiency score. because those alternate assessments really focus on the reading portion and not the full battery of reading and writing, students who pass will be able to be promoted, but they will still need to be on a RIM for the following year. Similarly, the sub-score on OST, that 50, it counts for promotion only. It does not count for proficiency because that 50 represents 80%, that reading score, and not the full battery. And so you need to have, again, that 700 minimum score to be taken off the RIM. RIMs will continue next year to encompass sixth graders, so that we're going to continue moving forward with RIMs until all students get that 700. And to kind of help out, I've linked in 2 documents. Again, the third grade reading guarantee guidance document, but if you look at pages 14 and 15, and I know I've mentioned this before, but the scenarios really are all encompassing. So if you want to just look at those scenarios, if a question comes up about RIMs, it probably is there. And if not, feel free to email me. Down below is also the decision tree or decision tool to help you know, does the student need a RIM? Do they not need a RIM? This is for 4th grade, but they're going to be expanding it again for 5th and 6th. And then because 6th grade will be added to RIMs next year, specific guidance about 6th grade, including videos and documents, are slated to be published by June. Can you say that again? So specific guidance for 6th grade, including videos and documents, are slated to be published by June. That is it. That's all from me, and you've been so patient, so bring time.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there any chance you think in the future that they will adjust that 700 benchmark to like a competency like they do at the high school? It seems crazy that when these 6th graders are in high school, that they can graduate with a 684 for competency, but still have a RIM.
Yeah, that is a great question, and I will ask that. So far, the answer has been no, 700.
Right.
So,
5 years when.
yeah, I will ask that question.
It's
a really good question.
They're
That is a very good
graduating
question.
with RIMs. That seems ridiculous.
Yes, yeah, I will ask that question. Thank you.
So it is now break time, and I'd like to provide 2 points of clarification before we move on in the meeting. First of all, regarding ACE, that term ACE principles. So we are not, it's not going to be you're expecting principals to come to a monthly conversation and coaching throughout the year. That ACE principal is just going to be the person that's going to help you lead that work forward in your district. That's going to be the point of contact. If we share information regarding math plan in addition to your district capacity team folks, we want to be able to include those ACE math principles as well. So just wanted to clarify that. The other thing I wanted to let you know about is when we talked to our friends in the department regarding the math plan, they mentioned that they learned a lot from the way in which the literacy was rolled out. And they are going to be looking at providing modules regarding the math plan and that information. And it sounds as if it's that, I think we talked probably either so ago, that they were looking at possibly those being released in June. So just wanted to let you know that's the information that we have. So just those 2 points of clarification. I'm going to turn it over to Christy.
Hi, everyone. So Amanda was talking to you about literacy K through 5, and I will update us on 6 through 12. And let me just say, I came on board at the ESD working with literacy, the ACE program 6 through 12 at the time when everything was about the science of reading that was coming through. Just like to get your names. I'm going to be moving away from literacy. I'm going to tell you, as much as I love literacy, as RIMs are moving into 6th grade now. Just an update from our middle school and high school network. We have been wrapping up how, as Tom mentioned earlier, you know, sometimes with teachers, don't know the science of reading training, how does that impact your classroom? We have been working on that all year. How do you implement those practices? We wrapped up on March 13th with feedback, some really great information there. It was probably one of our best sessions. I put a link to the literacy website there. Just some really good resources if you're looking for things about feedback for your districts. And again, a shout out to the 6 people that have been on the team with me. I'm going to encourage them to continue their work next year with Amanda. as the network becomes K-12 with her. So just a little reminder there to let you know that's going to be happening. So as we move into the world of gifted ed, just this morning I saw at 4 a.m. there was an update alert from OAGC about the funding bill. There is a call to action to give some information about how gifted funding is being removed from the budget in House Bill 96. It's not on my slides. I did send that out to all the gifted coordinators. That call to action, the deadline for that is April 6th. We are meeting as coordinators next Friday, so I wanted to send that out ahead of time and take a look at that again. Just a reminder, in the world of gifted ed for coordinators, the new rule goes into effect July 2025. As of today, there has been no update or implementation guide or any of that sent out yet, but as soon as we get that, we will be looking at that. For our coordinators, there's a nice little crosswalk we can look at to compare the differences from 2018 to the new one, to see the things that are changing. A few things that I can tell you off the top of my head that are changing, just the one that sort of is a stickler for some districts is the cluster group size. It has to be similar identification in a cluster group of no less than 3. And so just keeping that in mind as you're doing your scheduling for next year, trying to make that work. You can't pull out a waiver. No more creative thinking as a mandatory assessment in a grade band. However, it's still on the report card. So we'll be looking a little deeper into that with the coordinators next Friday. For educators, a reminder, our last meeting is Thursday, and we are wrapping up our discussion on challenging rigor. And you can contact me if you have any other questions about that. Yes.
Just like, the budget bill, I know you said that hurt too, but it did protect gifted funding. It does at this point state that, districts will have to spend the same amount on gifted as they had in the previous year.
Okay, so that may be different than what I got from OAGC, because this morning it said it's completely removed from the budget of the bill.
That's not what I saw yesterday.
Okay.
It moves at one speed, so.
It goes slow and then all of a sudden.
Yeah, so I can forward what I got. You can take a look and see that.
I'll look at what I.
All right, thank you.
All right, couple quick updates. The first two I showed you at the ILC, but just a couple reminders, mostly because I think I got 4 phone calls this week asking about when the re-credentialing training is. There is no re-credentialing training for any evaluation. Once you have that joyful 3 days for OTES, you're done. You just have to go in and take the test. Just remind some of your administrators, especially ones that may not do a lot of evaluations. You go to Insight Advanced. Normally people forget where to go. So it's at Insight Advanced for 10 away. Do not get locked out of Ohio ES. Every year, there's at least 1 or 2 of you in here that call me because they have a principal who did not, they kind of forgot, and then their credential expired, so then they have to go in there and re-credential right at the end of the school year. So if you have some people, I just got off the phone with somebody the other day who doesn't have to technically re-credential until like June 5th, I told them, wait as long as possible, because you don't want to have your cycle show up every year in May when nothing else is going on. So if you can hold it off. If they expire, there is no panic. You do not call ODEW. You just tell them to go into Insight Advanced. It's not like the old days. It's just sitting there. So if their license expired, I think if it goes a couple months, maybe it'll disappear. But ODEW doesn't want us to promote it, but it's in there. It's crazy. So just have them go in there and they can renew their license. The last one, and I'm going to jump when I get to the next slide. If you are thinking about an OTES evaluation framework change, I'm going to get to another slide about that. Your people still have to be credentialed in OTES. They still have to be credentialed in OPES, since that's not impacted by that law. They still have to be credentialed in OSES, but again, that's not impacted by the law. So make sure, even if you're thinking about it or throwing it around, that nobody gets around, forgets to get credentialed, because they have to have it. And our training schedule's online. We have a June training. So if you have any potential new principal candidates, even if they're not going to be a principal next year, and they're just kind of thinking, let them know, a great time to get your O-test is in the summer where you don't have to miss days of school. Or if you hire somebody brand new and they come in and all of a sudden they have to miss 3 days of the beginning of the school year to get credentialed. So really push that. We have some of Janelle and Tom's your principal, aspiring principal people have signed up or at least contacted. So check that out. The other evaluation, that trainings haven't opened yet. I purposely do that again to make sure that you guys, our locals, have it. Our Mentor Academy workshops, I haven't opened the registration yet on purpose. I want you guys to get your ducks in a line so that they don't fill up. I have an RE Mentor coordinator meeting tonight. We'll talk about that. But if you have anybody that's looking to become a mentor, check that out. Unfortunately, our dates are a little later. They're September and August. And that only had to do with, I need 2 trainers by law. And the 2 trainers, one of them I think will be on a cruise. So I didn't want to do a training at the end of August, right at the beginning of the school year. So I pushed it back.
Well, then we want to by our superintendent that the RA program was budgeted possibly.
So we have heard that
An
also.
update?
Haven't heard anything.
Okay.
So
They talked about the the what? I'm sorry, the actual assessment being gone. The RESA,
Yeah.
that's what they're talking about. But no, the program is required, it would be all local. I think it would just be the local at that point, back to where we were before this all started.
right, but we don't know. We don't know.
Okay.
So that's part of it. Here's a good thing. Nobody can sign up until
I
July.
hadn't heard that from you, so
Yeah.
I was just.
I didn't push that.
asking.
I have heard it, actually, I heard it because of what Rob said, the product. And part of the reason is we have no true trainer here in the building. It's the only one of the 2 trainers you have to go outside. And I looked through all the requirements to become a trainer. And we're now kind of like, well, we'll just wait to see if that's even something. So if I hear anything, or if you, I know you get some of those updates, let us know. Get rid of it. But this is important. We need to support our teachers, especially our young teachers. You guys do a great job. Just kind of remember years ago, before we had any sort of mentor training, how many new educators came into your district and had no idea what was going on. It took me 6 months to find out where the coffee room was in Malvern. No offense to Malvern, I'm small. I didn't know where it was. Yeah, there was no onboarding many years ago, almost 30. So, and then the last thing I want to talk about real quick, cohort 10 MSTV, just think about it. This year's cohort has been great. I actually had a teacher in our meeting the other day. She called in and she goes, hey, are you offering this next year? But I don't know. It's up to the district. She goes, I love this. I'm going to have some new staff members joining my team and I really want them to do this MSTV. So I said, hey, talk to your curriculum coordinators. So Monica, if you get a phone call, you'll know it came from me because it was one of your teachers that was really enjoyed the courses. We hear it all the time. It's relaxing. You don't have to join our meetings. We've not heard a negative thing. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, I didn't want to hit it. I did hit it again. I tried not to. Just some updates about if you're thinking about the OTES framework change, you will put more work into it to make it look like OTES. If you're thinking that OTES is overwhelming, you have to really look at your collective bargaining agreement. I was on a call with 4 other state trainers across the state discussing this, and 90% of the issues is the collective bargaining. You know, the pre-conference, post, all those things that are not required. Look at that before you really spend a lot of time and money to come up with exactly what the OTES framework looks like. And there's a lot of things that you still have to do regardless if you want to change it. So here are just some things in the Ohio Revised Code. So just throwing it out there. It's a lot of work. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying, really think there's a more effective way for your time than this. Any questions? Thanks for chiming about what Rob said. I heard that. We'll see.
Thank you. Just put things, I have a Herbert W. Hoover Foundation grant update. A part of our website, a lot of resources that I want to share with you, and then end of school year kind of stuff. And start with, there we go. Herbert W. Hoover, we have purchased about $16,000 worth of equipment for the program that's been loaned out, and a lot of it's been going out already. The speaker series, we had 2 speakers this year, and a little over, well, close to 3,200 students in 18 presentations. So that was really great. We had a lot of fun. We had the picture right here is at Alliance Middle School. We had 6th, 7th, the whole middle school was there, which was interesting, and on bleachers, and the kids were fantastic. On the left, we were at a whole lot of other schools with Dr. Karen Echeverry, and I think that's at Sandy Valley in the library. So I had to think where that one was, but we're able to see a lot of kids, a lot of interest, and a lot of kids are really engaged during the presentations, and they usually are. The other thing is next year, we are already looking at some things for the letter of intent for next year. As far as there's going to be some things with equipment. If you have ag programs at your schools, there's one of the folks that's we pretty sure he's going to be involved.
Real focus on citizen science where students
Yeah.
can do something and submit data for a national research project.
So it's some really good stuff. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be an ag program, but we're working that out with him right now. And also probably Richard Kern will be back. We don't know. There may be someone else as well. So some cool things there. The next one, and this was just from the grant. When Dr. Echeverry was here, she talked about regeneration in organisms, and specifically she studied axolotls. And while she was here, she goes, "Hey, we have these, they're on Cape Cod, and we have these starlet sea anemones, and they also, there are some things you can do with them. They regenerate parts of their bodies and so on." And she goes, "Would you like us to send you some?" So we immediately said, "Yeah, that looks cool." And so she said she would. And actually they arrived yesterday. We're right now kind of waiting to see if FedEx killed them. But we were not sure if they were living or not yesterday, but I've been back and forth with her, and she assures me they're alive. So, and I haven't been over there to check them today, so I'm hoping that they're still alive. They're not very big, but they were bigger than we thought they would be. But it's really cool. In this guide that's linked there, and we're not going to go to it right now, but in the guide, there are how to care for them, even to the point where they can have them spawn, how to do that. And then there are a lot of other activities. I think there's one where they can put, I think it's food coloring, and they keep adding it, and they'll actually, the kids they see what happens as they keep adding food coloring.
And they can regenerate the
And-
entire animal. So
Yeah.
even if they don't spawn, we may have more anyway.
Yeah. And I know, and there's one where they actually can do, where they can actually amputate, tentacles or whatever, and get them to regenerate.
Yes.
They can, yeah.
Yeah.
They're STEM.
Yeah.
My STEM.
Well, we've already heard from a couple of the high school science,
Yeah.
biology teachers and environmental teachers saying, "Hey, can we get I'm like, well,
Yeah.
next year. We're
Yeah,
trying to
but
get them
this is-
established first. So, but there'll be information going out to that group so that they could kind of start
So they can
planning.
start planning. Okay. And then the other thing I have, and Matt, will you hit that on our website, on the SAM website, we have this science STEM resources. I've been working on this for a while. And it looks, can you scroll down a little bit there? Matt? It's a spreadsheet and what we have is, this is just part of the nature of science one. There are all these tabs underneath. But we have one on academically productive talk, which is also pretty good for language arts as well. But we have the link, we have a little description of what it is, and there's another column right over here. Matt, you slide it over a little bit. And I have some, I put down what language they're in, because some of them are available, and then Dana, yeah. So I talked to Dana about that one a while ago, but there are a few that, and I'm finding them as I find them. Most of them are Spanish, but there are a couple, and some of these that have other languages, multi-languages. So it's kind of cool. We have nature science, lab safety, citizen science, which are projects, usually with apps. Multidisciplinary things, organism care. Some of them we don't have too much on at this point, but we have, I know equipment videos is empty. Organism care, I know the new thing with the sea anemones is on there. And then we have our earth and space science, physical and life science. So there are all things that teachers can use. There are a lot of good, some of them are videos, some of them are actual sites, but a lot of really good resources for the teachers. And we're sharing those with our educator network as well. And then the final thing for me is end of the year, and actually these are SAM reminders. Teachers with equipment, organisms, and trade books borrowed from the SAM program must have all items scheduled for return before your district's last day for students. Most of them, what we usually have a return date on things, but every so often someone will say, oh, I'm going to keep this can I keep this for a little bit longer? And we're, yeah, okay, nobody wanted it. Nobody else has requested it, so okay. But usually it's organisms where we have the problems. Oh, we're done with school tomorrow. Can you come and get ours? And the end of May is nuts with us. And we're probably going to have the truck out every day anyway, the last couple weeks. But it just makes it easier if, I don't go to Carrollton one day and then somebody forgot, and then we have to drive out to Carrollton the next day. So, and I'm not saying Carrollton, the other thing is SAM participation fees and FOSS refurbishing fees. They're going to be a little bit, we're doing them a little bit differently this year. Tom talked about it a couple meetings ago. And we're going to be, as soon as we get some of the FOSS is what we're waiting on, because I had somebody request a FOSS kit today. That goes by the numbers of how many if your district uses them, that's going to be, you'll get that. But from now on, I believe, Tom, they're going to bill just once instead of before we used to do 2 billings. One for the participation fee, one for that. So we're going to be billing.
James here, and he said that's all.
And
a little lumpy at first until everyone gets, but
yeah, and actually what you're going to be billed for is basically this past year. So with the participation fee, and we usually don't do that until February anyway, but we held off. So other than that, once we get the final numbers on those FOSS kits, you guys will be getting something, telling you what your fees are for this year for that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And just a quick reminder, as I mentioned at the ILC meeting, Dale, our science person, a wonderful human, wonderful educator, is going to be retiring, and we're so sad about that. I keep asking him, are you sure you want to? But he says he's going to. I think we'll see him once in a while. I think, yeah. I think maybe we'll see this a little bit next year. We're going to celebrate him here at the ESC on May 7th. So if you have folks in your district that know Dale, please make sure that you share that information with them as well, because we're going to share information out with other networks, but we want to make sure that all folks that have had the opportunity, the pleasure to work with Dale over the years, know that we're going to be celebrating him. And like I said, we will miss him. So I'm going to hand it off to Miss Dana right now.
So I didn't put anything on here for world languages, but I do want to give a shout out to the Stark County world language teachers who have an incredible reputation across the state of Ohio and with the Department of Ed and Workforce. And the annual World Language Conference, which was OFLA, we're now changing it to OALA, Ohio World Language, because it's not foreign, we're inclusive, because we still believe in inclusivity. And so the ALA conference is happening today. I'm going to be back there after this meeting, and tomorrow and Saturday. And we are well represented on the state board as well. So our Northwest Spanish teacher is the president. We have Kansas City teacher on the board, a Dalton teacher on the board. So we're very well represented, and we have a really strong reputation. So thank you for all that you do to support your world language teachers. Talking about programs and staffing support. So I know like March is usually the month where you're making schedules for the next school year and everything, but some of you are still working on that, particularly at the high school, middle schools. But I want you to be thinking about the English learners, the multilingual learners of English. I'm trying to do MLE, but the state still uses ELs. Thinking about those students and the supports they need, and tying that into our discussions today with your reflection and action. When you look at the like step 1, 2, and 3 of your 5-step plan, think about your English learners. Be inclusive of your gifted, your special ed, and your English learners when you're considering that, if you're going to do this work with your districts. And what support in step 4 do your classroom teachers need? And I know I say this all the time, but your content classroom teachers typically have not had any background or training on working with multilingual students, and they need help. So when you're creating your action plan, when you're looking at your one plan, action plans, everything else, just keep in mind your multilingual students and the supports that your content teachers need. So like in the reflective and the reflection and action, what about your diverse learners? What do you expect to see in the classrooms? Are they in the back of the room sitting quietly, or are they engaged? Because from that article that was shared at one of our previous meetings, highly effective teaching, or no, it was in this one, highly effective teaching and learning from the Kentucky piece for the teachers, that they know how to effectively engage the students. Many of your content teachers don't know how to effectively engage your multilingual students. And then the teachers need to know how to engage them, and they need the support in doing that. And then leaders are there to help give that support to them. So just making sure that that's, as our population continues to grow, we just finished the OLPA, and it was about 97,000. Up 13% from last year that we assessed this year. So while our gen ed and the public education, our population pretty much is stagnant or dipping, our English learner population still continues to grow, even with everything going on politically at this time. So as you're having these discussions in your class, make sure that part of TBTs, DLTs, BLTs, PLCs, whatever you have, that this is a constant ongoing part of that conversation. And then, you know, as you're thinking about scheduling for next year too, how are you using your TESOL teachers? And maybe a consideration would be for one block in the day for them to give that support to your content teachers. And the other blocks of the day, they're working directly with students. Just thinking more creatively to give that support to your teachers. And I've been trying to work on our all-day PD sessions this year. We had 4. We'll continue to do that again next year, working with them on building their capacity to work with teachers too, because it is a difficult conversation because there's a lot of emotions involved on both sides. And we're going to continue working with that for next year also. And then so as you're planning those schedules too, if you're finding that you need a TESOL teacher, we have 2 certified TESOL teachers who live in Stark County but are teaching outside of the county and want to come back home and want to teach locally. And one of them, because she's got a little baby, is willing to be part-time. So I know some of you don't always have a full-time position available, but I have 2 TESOL teachers who want a job here locally. So reach out to me if you have that need, and I can connect you with them. And then also like thinking about programming and staff support next year. Next Thursday is our last Title III coordinator meeting, and we are going, it's going to be in person, and we are going to be collaborating and working together to plan for next year. So a lot of that is discussions about what the needs are for next year and how we can support your district. So I hope that your coordinators can be here at that meeting. I have toyed and gone back and forth where some would be hybrid, some would be in person. But to be honest, I want this more of a collaborative discussion. So our first meeting this past year in the fall was in person only, and we had rich discussions. And based on those discussions, we now have grading guidance for all of our districts. We have these flip books that all of your districts ordered and got. That was from those in-person conversations. 2 districts found an interpreter that they could share when needed. So that's why I want to keep it in person, because we're planning for next year. And when, you know, when you're virtual, that you don't have that rich engagement discussion. So I'm willing to be flexible with that in the future. I'm still playing with that, but we really need those conversations so that it's more interactive and not, because I can just report out items in an email, and there's no reason for me just to talk at everybody for the 2-hour meetings. But also we're going to flip those with the Title I. So some of you should do the Title I and Title III also. So next year we started it where we do from 8 to 10 Title III, and then it goes from 10 to 12, 11:30 for Title I. We are flipping them next year because I'm always late. Title I is usually on time. And then I typically have some folks, some of our Title III coordinators from outside of the area sometimes stay afterwards for more work and conversation. So just wanted to put that. And then also next Thursday, we partnered with Immigrant Connections, a national organization, and they have come to every single teacher meeting and coordinator meeting this year. And so they're going to be here next Thursday also. And one of the things that she's going to be talking about is attendance with our English learners at this point in time. Because of everything happening politically, many families and students are going in hiding, they're leaving, and it's affecting some of our attendance. So she's going to be talking about some proactive things that we can do with that. And then also some of our students here in Stark County are from some of the countries where the TPT is ending. For some of them, it's ending April 26th, and some of them are a little bit later. So we have Haitians, we have Venezuelans, and they're protected status. So they are here, brought here legally. They have legal status right now because of the turmoil in their home country. That is ending, and they're saying you either self-deport or you are here illegally and up for ICE deportation. This is affecting your kids in your classrooms. This is affecting some of your students because we have kids from those countries. And then our Ukrainians, where that they're not renewing they're here on humanitarian parolee status. They're not renewing that. So some of those kids, because they come in at different times, some of those are ending soon. And the families are at a loss of what to do right now. And so those are the three main countries that are being affected by some of the executive orders that are happening, and it's affecting your kids. So Immigrant Connections is also going to talk about some of the things that we can do to support the kids and families in those situations. What else did I have on here? Oh, so there's other, that's just, okay. And then at the, I think it was a February aspiring principal meeting, we did roundtables with gifted, special ed, and EL. And I just shared with you the guidance that I gave your aspiring principals. It's a one-page sheet. Just so you know, and you may want to share it with your current principals, because it's just what every principal should know. Keeping in mind that there are certain Supreme Court cases that still are in effect. Filer v. Doe is still in effect. Roe v. Nichols is still in effect. We still have our 10 ESSA requirements. So regardless of what's happening with the U.S. Department of Education, regardless of what's happening with executive orders, we still have requirements under those pieces, and those are listed in the MLE guidance that was shared with your aspiring principals. And then going back to where your classroom teachers need support, I wanted to let you know that at the HEIST conference, and I know Matt's going to talk about it also, Sarah Levitt is she's a national presenter on English learners here in Ohio. She's been on Ohio TESOL board forever. She has put in 4 or 5 proposals that are geared toward content teachers. So one's 6-12, one's K3, they're different grade levels, but I put in the descriptions in there. That would be a great opportunity for your content teachers. And then also with the, we're having an all-day train the trainer. So with the dyslexia screener that your districts do, the initial screener, if you have a beginner or intermediate English learner, they are testing at risk of having dyslexia. But most often it is because of the language difference, not the potentiality of dyslexia. So we've partnered with Kent State, University of Cincinnati, and Ohio State. They're part of this team, and they did some work with some of their districts last year. They're continuing the work in Massillon this year, working with our multilingual learners to do the second screening with tools that were specifically designed for multilingual students. So for example, in Spanish, you never begin a word with S and another consonant, like in student. So in the English portion, because there's some English tests and there's some Spanish, and then they're going to add Arabic and then eventually some other languages, there will be no words that they have to say with those beginning clusters. So they are designed specifically for multilingual students, and they are not vendor available. But anybody who comes to this train the trainer will get the full battery of assessments with the training manual, and they will be able to implement that in your districts next year. So SLPs, I would definitely recommend, even if they don't speak Spanish, they're getting the English portion, the parent, some of the information from the parents and everything that will go home. And then if you have a Spanish speaker in your district that you use, they could administer the Spanish portion of the assessment. We're going to have the binders. We're going to have to give the assessments to you. So make sure you share that with your districts. We'll have the write-up soon for that. And then one last thing with EMIS, the mid-year student data due date is April 26th. That is critical to make sure that your English learner and immigrant data is accurate and up to date. So if you've got new students and everything, make sure that that's all entered, because your funding, your Title III funding for next year and your immigrant funding for next year will be based on this April date. In the past, they took it from October. So make sure that you communicate with your EMIS folks that that needs to be updated. And as far as we know right now, we are expecting Title III funds for next year. That may end in the future. Title 1C, or Title 1, we're still expecting for next year. Also, Title 1C under that is for migrants. And at this point in time, we are expecting it for the FY26 school year. Who knows after that?
All right, so from my world in the digital innovation space, we have a meeting next week with the digital detectives. If you remember back in the fall, this was the group that's kind of bridging the gap between the curriculum silo and the technology silo. It's a nice place where we can all come together and have those meaningful conversations. We this time are welcoming our friends from ETLA. This is Bill, Amy. They are willing and able to answer all of the questions you may have and play all of the what ifs that you may be thinking of when it comes to data privacy agreements and products and all kinds of really wonderful things. Once that is done, they're going to be with us for about an hour or until we run out of questions or scenarios. And then once that's done, we'll talk a little bit about AI policies. I know that's a big thing that's happening in your districts right now. Specifically, I'm thinking about things like how Google has just folded Gemini into their core services, which means that it is now covered as a part of our data privacy work, which is really good. So if you're looking for tools that would be acceptable for you to use, that is now a signed off option for you is Gemini. So we'll get into all of that. I have a very light agenda on purpose for that so that you can have questions of your fellow districts. How are you handling this, so on and so forth. So please consider coming to that if that interests you, or send somebody from your district to join. Let me check the fine print on because it is folded underneath. We know that it is good from the data privacy lens, but I don't know if they've also updated the language on it. But let me check on that. Very good question. All right. Second piece that I have for you is our high impact conference. We are winding down our call for proposals. This is in effect our last call. We at the moment have somewhere in the ballpark of like 80 to 85 sessions. So I'm excited about that. Very diverse set, but I'm very greedy and I like more. So the more diverse sessions that cover all the different contents that we have, then the better conference we have for you and all of your educators. So if there's someone out there in your district who has yet to submit, or you know that they have something that is interesting, I'm trying to go away from like somebody who's doing something really great, or that really special thing. Doesn't have to be that. It can be just something that is working within your district. If you think they have a good message to share, then consider sharing at our conference. Could be something as small as 20 minutes. We will blow that into like a half-hour session with 10 minutes of question and answer. So it doesn't have to be anything earth-shattering. Doesn't have to be anything really long. It can be whatever you would like. We are also, again, just a reminder for you, if you want to have like a specific room devoted to your district, like let's say you have a specific thing that you want to talk to your teachers about, but keep it exclusive to only your district, we can offer that too. Once your people are in the building, we're just happy that they're there because we know that they're going to take advantage of other things as well. So let us know that and we can make that happen. Great.
Do you have like specific areas that you feel that as far as offerings that,
So
you know what I mean? Like if there's something like you said, here's the areas that really we might be able to then.
yeah, so remember last year we combined with Spark. So I would say we are good when it comes to technology items. We don't really need any more of that. When it comes to, I don't want to call them niche, but more of our niche content areas. So I would say language arts, we're probably pretty good at the moment. If we want more math sessions, that's always great. Our social studies friends need some stuff. Our science friends need some stuff. And then also think about like what are typically quantified as like specials.
Yeah.
So, our arts, we have some opportunities that I think are going to be really fun. Again, I want to give that, like I said, this is one of the things that I always hang my hat on for our conference is that we have something for everybody, and then everybody feels like their bucket is filled when they leave. So we have a couple different ideas that we're going to do this year too that are new. So to kind of go for that, but I would say in some of those other content areas, not what, you may typically think of. That would be really, really wonderful. And I know that it says last call is like tomorrow, but if you know somebody, or if you have somebody who's trying to put it together, just have them submit the form and say like description coming soon, or we'll email you later, just so that we know about it. If we have it, okay. All right, one other really silly thing, because I like to fill your bucket while you're here. In slides, there is a new feature that has just come about. It should be available to all of you. This is an insert, and I'm looking at building blocks. Okay, these building blocks are attempting to be competitive when it comes to some of our other like template websites. So things like Canva, things like Slides Go, things like Slides Mania, and every other slide template site that you see. But these are all ready to go for you to add to any slide. So these are fully editable, and they are filled with like what I would call like dummy information. So these are like lorem ipsum, or it may be just something silly. Know that it is all fully customizable. So you can see down here on the side, there are like tables, charts, graphs. There's like these headline things, to bring in some statistics. Some that I think are really fun are things like this collaboration space or badges. So if you're using these, you can have people like do like thumbs up on the things that they like. Tom was putting trash cans on the things that I had in here yesterday because he wanted to get rid of those. But know that these are all fully editable. They should be available to you. And if not, they are coming soon to your domain. So just really, really cool, really collaborative tool that you may not know if someone didn't tell you about it. So again, that's just an insert and then building blocks. And like I said, if it hasn't rolled out to you yet, know that it's in the process of doing it. Okay. Awesome. All right, then now to them.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Just a quick reminder as we get ready to wrap up the year, we always appreciate feedback regarding the CD meetings. And so that's the link and the QR code for the survey. As we get ready to head into our collaborative conversations today, just a quick reminder, we're going to be meeting in our like-sized districts. As we, just to clarify, a couple of conversations, I know, came out of the session.
Yeah.
So ACE principles, math principles, those are kind of one and the same. So those folks that you have identified on that spreadsheet, those are the people that you want to be in the know regarding math. Back in your district to help do some of that work forward. Okay? So as you list those people on that spreadsheet that will sent to you, those are the people that you want to be in the know for math. They may also be the people that you want to be your people that attend the principal leadership meetings.
And sign up for the principal leadership.
You do not. We'll send out an invite. We take all of the county principals that are registered for the in-service at the very beginning of the year. We add those people on our spreadsheet and we invite everyone out. So they'll get a flyer information about it. So know that that's coming. Okay. Hopefully that clarified that. All right. We're in the home stretch. We're going to head into. Very good. Okay. We just have, as a reminder, at our May ILC meeting, we do the district celebration. And so that's in Louisville. What we're asking you to do is just make a copy of that slide deck and please share them with Matt. When do they need to share them with you?
Prior to our ILC. In a perfect world.
Yeah. You have a time frames would be better.
Yeah, just if it's like a week out, I don't have to calendar in front of me, but a week out would be real swell. And then just take any two of the slides that you see in that slide deck and put all your celebrations on there. And if you have questions or if you need help with formatting or whatever, just let me know.
Is that on our to-do list?
Yes, it is. Okay, so, yeah, so as we go. Okay, I'm glad.
Yeah.
We're always trying to get better. So when you go back to your district, remember, blue slide outlines will take you back to the things that we're about to complete. So that's where everything is. The district celebration slide, it's all linked there. So you should be good to go. And with that, again, we appreciate your feedback. We always are striving to improve and make things better and more relevant for you and the work that you're doing back in your district. Our final meeting of the year, May 1st, it's coming up right around the corner.
So prior to May 1st, we would need the slides.
So the week before, if possible. So again, thank you so much. And we hope you have a great day. Please grab a cookie, a snack on the way out. And we know it's a busy time of the year. Thanks again for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you.